Hi everyone, thank you for joining our Coveo for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Bring the Enterprise into Dynamics webinar session. I'll be your host. My name is Clara Boulanger. I work on the marketing team here at Coveo, and I'm really excited to be a part of today's session. I'm also thrilled to be joined by our speaker, Nicolas Bordeleau, VP of Products at Coveo. I have a couple of housekeeping items to cover quickly before we get started. First, everyone is in listen-only mode. However, we do want to hear from you during today's presentation. We'll be answering questions at the end of this session, so please feel free to send those along using the Q&A section on your screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive the presentation within 24 hours of the conclusion of the event. Finally, there will be a brief survey at the end of this session. Please help us improve future webinars by providing your feedback on the webinar content and experience. For those of you just joining us, welcome to our Coveo for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Bring the Enterprise into Dynamics webinar session. Now, let's get started. Nicolas, please take it away.
Thank you, Clara. So as Clara said, this format is officially an office hour. So the goal is to interact with you guys. So ask your question as you have them. If I'm able, I'll try to answer a few as we go, but the bulk of the questions are going to be answered at the end. But the goal is to have your question answered during this session. The agenda for today, so about Coveo, what we do, I want to cover those quickly. There's a mix in the audience. There's, let's say, half Microsoft people and half existing partner from Coveo. So I'm going to cover that relatively quickly. I want to talk mostly about what is Coveo for Dynamics. I want to cover the use cases, do a quick demo. I want to talk about the Coveo Cloud Platform, talk about the features, and also do a quick demo. And then to close, empty the Q&A queue and also talk about what's next, how to access the product, and how to work with it. So to start, about Coveo, so who we are, what we do. So you can see here in the Gartner and Gartner Magic Quadrant and the Forrester Wave, we are a search company. We do work to we're well positioned in both those quadrants in the leader section, and we used to do enterprise search, but now we focus more on inside engine and cognitive search, simply because we think it's more important to leverage context to provide you the most relevant information where you are than simply give you content based on keywords. Coveo can count more than 500 customers. We have more than 1,000 deployments. They're spread across those different industries. So software and technology is where the bulk of our customers are. But we do also have customer in financial services, manufacturing, energy, healthcare, and also services and retail. Coveo is a platform. You can use Coveo as a standalone platform to build your own application, leveraging all of our building blocks, going from the UI to an index to machine learning and admin. But we do also offer a kind of pre-packaged solution for a different ecosystem. Within the Salesforce ecosystem, we have Coveo for Salesforce, which we won't cover today, but it is available. We do also have Coveo for Sitecore, and we are going to cover most of today's session over Coveo for Dynamics, which is a new offering we're bringing to the table this month, actually. What we do, as I mentioned before, Coveo is a cloud platform. We're a SaaS solution. We bring content from various systems, so content from the Google ecosystem, Jira, Confluence ecosystem, also obviously from Microsoft ecosystems, we can index Dynamics and various sources of information. We basically bring all those documents, all those record into the index. We mix it with behavioral data, and that is special to Coveo. Unlike any other search engine, we do mix the content with the usage of this content into our cloud to make it more relevant. When we mix both those sources of information, this is how we can provide you intelligent search, intelligent recommendation. We talk about intelligent search when people are typing keywords in a search box, when they provide information around what they're looking for, and we talk about intelligent recommendation when we leverage the context to provide you the most relevant content based on what you're currently doing or where you're currently on a site. At the core of Coveo, at the core of Coveo, there's the machine learning. That part, sorry about that. That part is what make Coveo as powerful as it is. We do have a couple of use cases I wanted to talk about today. So we do intelligent query suggestion based on our machine learning. So like you're used with Google or with Bing, when you type something in a search box, you get intelligent query suggestion that allow you to find out what's the right keyword to find out what you're looking for. So basically, an help to help you build that query. Coveo offers that feature, and you're going to see it in demo later on. We also do automatic relevance tuning. So that part is basically looking at how people are accessing your data, how are they using this information. The index will automatically change its relevance based on the usage of the information. So that makes it easier for you to maintain a search index and making it more relevant at the same time. Recommendation are probably the next thing, the latest thing with Coveo. In the context of a website, you can get content recommendation in the form of product recommendation or document recommendation. In the use case of a customer service portal, you can get also content recommendation to help a customer self-serve his own problem based on what he's doing, what he's viewing on a website. So to do those recommendations, we go further than simply looking at interaction within the search page. We track behavior on the whole portal or website or system actually to track all the interaction with the content. And based on those interactions, we can provide you relevant recommendation to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. Intelligent term detection is actually something that is feeding recommendation. So Coveo is able to look at large blobs of text to extract relevant keywords to drive recommendation. So in the context of a website, we can look at the current page you're currently in to extract the most relevant keyword to use that as a context. In the context of a customer self-service portal, we can look at the current case you're currently trying to fill to extract most relevant keyword to provide you the most relevant information. Basically removing the noise around all the information, trying to extract the most relevant keyword to your specific field of action to make the relevance even more accurate. And then personalization. So Coveo is able so when we track interaction within content, we also pass along context keys. So with those context keys, those context keys can be location, they can be time of day, they can be your browser, your OS. Any context key can be used to personalize interaction with intelligent query suggestion, with relevance tuning, and also with recommendation. So you don't get a kind of a black box that provides the same recommendation or query suggestion to every user. They're really going to be tailored to who's asking the question based on what they're doing or based on their location. Here's a quick example of what we do at Adobe to give you a sense of what Coveo can do. So at Adobe, they decided to use Coveo in 3 main use cases. So they use Coveo to drive their self-service community. They also use Coveo to power search for their support agent, and they also use Coveo directly within Photoshop to drive the search in there as well. They are indexing multiple sources of information, so Jive, websites, Adobe Experience Manager, and also CRM information, actually Salesforce and Dynamics. They index all this information, mix it with usage information from the website and also from Photoshop. All this mix of information is used to help user either work directly within Photoshop or if they have deeper questions, if they go to the portal, it's also there to help them get access to all the information that is available for them to find their solution. And in the end, if they end up creating support case with Photoshop, with Adobe, sorry, then Adobe agent are able to leverage all this information to help those customers as fast as possible. Since they activated Coveo, they have way less queries without results. Click-through rank went also increased pretty drastically, and the the adoption of support agent also went up pretty quickly. So that's pretty good. Now looking at the bulk of the presentation, so Coveo for Dynamics. First thing I want to highlight is the fact that now you can bring the enterprise data into Dynamics. We built an integration. Actually, we've been building this integration for the last year and a half. It has been available through AppSource, but not officially. We're now officially launching it. Actually, it's going to be launched officially next Thursday, March 1st. But basically, you're going to be able to bring all the information from your enterprise ecosystem into Dynamics. Here are the value prop of the solution. So bringing the external content into CRM. Coveo count more than 50 native connectors. You'll be able to bring all your enterprise data within Dynamics. It can come from all cloud or enterprise data. It can be structured or unstructured data. And we also do document level security. So if your Dynamics content is going to be secured, if you're not allowed to see some piece of content coming from Dynamics or coming from any other system you've indexed, you won't be able to find that content through search. We do honor security models. We have a rich set of UIs. So all the features that you're going to see in the demo are all available through Dynamics. So it goes from facets, it can go to sorting, to query suggestion, all the bells and whistles from search interface that you know and love are all available through Dynamics. And all of this is also customizable and configurable to be made available within Dynamics. We do have machine learning and usage analytics. And usage analytics are basically an easy way for you to understand how your users are using search and how your users are actually accessing your data. Since you're going to be tracking every access to information, you're going to be able to see reports on how this access to information is going through Coveo. You're going to be able to see global trends and also content gap. So what should you be creating to help your user and your support agent work with the information? And then this data is available for machine learning to be able to optimize the relevance of the index. And then once more, so tuning and personalization, that's a big plus for Coveo. If you're to use relevant search or even categorized search within Dynamics, you know it's not easy to customize. There's a few options to customize what is being indexed, but in terms of how this content is accessible and how it should look like and mixing it with other content, this is not easy. With Coveo, everything is easier to customize in terms of look and feel and also in terms of behaviors. Now let's talk about use cases. So this use cases is the main one, so unified search. So you want to offer all the information for your user directly within Dynamics. So there's two ways to access information, either through global search or through the side panel, what you can see here. I'm going to show those into a demo in a few minutes, so I'll go briefly around that part. And the other option for search within Dynamics is through contextual recommendation. We call them inside consoles. So you have the option to integrate Coveo as a side panel within the view of an entity, and leverage the context of what you're currently doing. From there, I'm going to go to a quick demo of Coveo for Dynamics. So this is the Coveo for Dynamics environment in which I've created a kind of a fake company which sells wearable electronics. It's called Speedbit. If I go in here, if I search for a classic query, so GPS problem, typically the search box leads you to a search page which is managed by Dynamics themselves. So you can either go through relevant search or to categorized search. When Coveo is deployed, you have the option to go to Coveo search by default. And that option to go by default is an option for you to configure it within the settings of Dynamics. But if you decide to use Dynamics Coveo as the default search, you're now redirected to a Coveo search page. That gives you access to all the content that you've indexed within Coveo, basically all your enterprise data. So in that case, what we've indexed SharePoint, we've indexed YouTube, we've also indexed Salesforce, since it's a migration from Salesforce to Dynamics. We've also indexed Jira and Confluence content, where documentation and bug fixes are documented, and all this information is available for you through this interface without having to go to search of all those silos one by one. You get all the features of Coveo, so facet, searching in those facets, different result layout, sorting component, query suggestion. If you type something in there, that's what I was referring to before. Those are query suggestions that are actually coming from users. Those are not only coming from the content that you have into the index, but those are actually the keyword that users are using to access your content. So if there's any implicit synonyms or any keyword that your user are using to access your content, you're going to be able to find them to those query suggestions as well. The other thing I wanted to show you was is actually if I go and if I simulate a user who's currently reviewing his list of support case, so my active cases, I'm currently in that context, and I want to search in that list of cases. But if I go and use that search box here, I'm not able to find pretty much anything because that's poor kind of SQL search, which is looking to find the exact match in the list of case here. So what we've done to help with that scenario, without having to load the full global search page, and lose the context of what you're currently doing, we've also added Coveo as a side panel. So on the side here, this is an interface coming from Coveo. That's actually the same interface that you get if you load the global search box, but in a smaller real estate, and then you keep the context of what you're currently doing. So if I go here, if I search for, I want to have information. I know there's some information around John somewhere in the system. I can search against all the enterprise data. I can still use those different tabs at the top to find out information in different silos or in different systems. I can still use the facets. Basically, all the features from Coveo are all accessible from here. But you keep the context of what you're currently doing. The next thing I want to show you is actually how Coveo can be used in the context of an entity. So I'm currently loading a support case, and that support case is actually a support case around speed bit charge, which is currently, it looks like it's skipping floors. There's a description. It's tied to John Bond, which is a customer of us. There's basically information allowing you to understand what's the problem of John. And on the side here, automatically Coveo is looking at the context of the end of the record here and trying to recommend the most relevant action to help you solve this customer issue. In this case, we're doing intelligent term detection, so we're looking at the entire description plus the case title to extract the most relevant keyword. And on the side here, you see that you have relevant information to help you solve that problem. All of that is also customizable, so that's another UI from Coveo that I'm going to show you later on how to customize and how to work with. But the nice thing in here is that if you have information in various systems, let's say your documentation system, which is public, might have some internal draft document that are not yet published for your users to see. A support agent should be able to review those documents and find them, even if a user is not able to see them on a website. If there's bug around the product, a support agent should be able to review those, so that it makes sense to show them all the information in here so that they get all the information at hand to be able to solve this customer issue. We've done it in this case for a support case, but it can also be done for opportunities. So you could bring relevant information to help a salesperson close an opportunity. Or another use case we've seen people interested in is making that side panel available within the view of creating knowledge base articles. So as you are trying to create a new article, as you're typing description and a few keywords in the title and description, Coveo can bring you similar articles that might be already existing to avoid you create duplicates of what you're currently trying to create. This side panel react to what's in here. So as you augment the information in that case, so as you add more information, on that case title or on case description, you can see that I currently have 1,400,000 document. As I move away from that field, as I refine the description of that case, result count has been changing. I haven't changed enough in that case to change the list of results, so there's no major change, but still the document and the information has changed. So as the agent is performing his task and augmenting the information on that case, the side panel will also react automatically to show them the most relevant information. From there, let me show you the configuration part of that environment. So if I go into settings, there's a new Coveo section in that environment in which I can click on configured Coveo, in which I can see the source, the license, a small diagnostic tool, and the search pages. First thing I want to show you is how to index the content from Dynamics. So the first step is to go to App Source, get this plugin, deploy it into your Dynamics environment, connect it to an existing license, or create a new trial, which is pretty simple. There's a wizard to help you do that. And then the first thing to do is to create a source. Creating a source is relatively easy. There's a predefined configuration in there by default. You just have to provide a name. Select your authentication method that you prefer. Either go with application user that work with OAuth under the hood, or use basic credentials, so username and password. And then you can define what you want to index. So what are the entities that you want to index, and what are the fields that you want to index in those entities? If you have customized the system, if you have custom fields, which is pretty much always the case, those custom fields are going to be shown in there. Same apply for custom entities. They're also going to be displayed in the list over here. So I will skip creating that source. Anyway, there's already that content in here that is available. So and that's also where you go and refresh and rebuild your source. The other interesting part is search pages. So I've shown you earlier today two of those search pages. So there's the case console and there's the global search. Global search is the one you access through to the main search box and also with the side panel. And the case console is the one you've seen in the case view. So let me open the global search page and show you how you can edit this interface and how you can play with the interface. Actually, no, let me show you how to create a new page. So if I create a new page, you have the option to go with a classic or an insight search page. I'll go with the classic one. The insight one is the one that can take into account the context of entities to automatically provide results. If I go with the classic one, the first thing you're going to see is that Coveo looks at what's in the index and propose you a list of interfaces that make sense based on what you have in the index. So since I have SharePoint, since I have Dynamics and Salesforce, they're going to be a case tab. Since I have Lithium, since I have YouTube, it's going to automatically propose me a few list of tabs to add to my interface. So that makes it also faster to get started with Coveo. You don't have to learn how to build an interface from scratch. You can simply create that interface, and Coveo will start by offering you a basic interface. So that's an interface that look at my content. There's multiple tabs that look into different areas of my data. If you want to remove them, if you want to customize them, you have the option to customize them any way you want. Same apply for facets. If you want to create a new facet, you can simply drag and drop a facet component in here. And let's say I want to have a facet for my sources. I can simply give a name to my facet and then specify which field I want to use. Let's say I want to use some field coming from Dynamics. Then I have all those fields, which are fields coming automatically from Dynamics. I've never created those fields. They were created automatically by indexing the content from Dynamics. Let's keep with the source one, which is easier for a demo. Click OK. I have the option to go further into the configuration of that source. So let's say I want to have 3 values by default. Then I should have a source. Yeah, I now have a facet here showing me sources. There's all the bells and whistles about facets are available, and then you get to use that source facet right away. Same apply for result templating. If you would like to display your own custom fields in those templates, or if you'd like to change completely the template how they work, you have the option to use a WYSIWYG tool to play with the look and feel of those results. This change doesn't make much more sense, but you get the point that it's a drag and drop. And then if you'd like to go deeper and play with the code of this interface, you can go and switch to the code view. This UI is based on the JS UI search framework. So if you want to create your own component, or if you want to change the styling of our own component, you get the option to go directly at the code level and change the code of the Coveo search interface, which is displayed in here. So from here, I think I'll switch back to the presentation and show you and actually talk about Tyler. So I mentioned before that we're available on AppSource since March of 2017. And at that stage, Tyler decided that they wanted to use our product, even though it was not fully released at that stage. So they were working with us hand in hand to go with every release of our product. And they basically used Coveo to drive community search and also employee kind of internal search interfaces. They are indexing Dynamics 365, a few sources from Atlassian, so Jira and Confluence, multiple website Exchange, a few file system, a few information coming from .NET, Nukem, CMS. So they index most of their information, which is relative to customer service, and they make it available through a portal, a public portal on the website, and also for support agent to be able to access all this information. They were having problems, with adoption of search. They were trying to use fast. They were trying to use also open source technology. Never get good results out of those technology. So they decided to go with Coveo, and now the adoption is skyrocketing. We're currently in the process of building a case study around Tyler. So you'll be able to reuse that to talk with your prospect or customer if you'd like at some point. Now let's talk about the Coveo Cloud Platform. I want to show you a couple of screenshots, but then I want to show you the platform live. So I've been talking about this a couple of times during the presentation. Coveo, since we're able to collect all the information as people are accessing the information through search, you're able to get basic report like this one, where you can see activity trends over, in this case, it's over a week. But you can decide which time span you want to look at. So you can understand how how many people are searching, how many people are clicking on documents, what are the top tabs, what are the top query, top documents, where is the traffic coming from, what device are they using. All of this UI is also fully customizable. So it's a WYSIWYG editor that allows you to play with this interface. So you can build your own report. And there's also a report for content gaps, relevancy problem, and also top keywords to help you understand what are the content gap I should fill by either tagging my document with those new keywords or by creating new content because people are asking questions around those topics on my portals. This is the raw data that is also available for you. So this data is actually what is driving the reports, and that's also the data that is driving machine learning. It's available in here. So if you have any report of problem on the website, people reporting issues with search, you can always go there to see what query they perform, what results they got back, and basically see what interaction they did with the search interface. Now a quick demo of the Coveo Cloud Platform. If I close this interface, so from the main menu, there's the option to go to the admin console. The admin console is basically the UI of the full Coveo platform. Let's give it a second to load. Okay. So from here, you can see all the different source of content that I have in this demo environment. So I was showing you earlier Dynamics information mixed with Confluence, mixed with Salesforce, mixed with SharePoint. All of those sources of content are easy to create. You just have to click on the Add Source button, and then you have the option to select against all of those type of source that we have predefined here. If you have on-premise content, you can always use our on-premise connection module to connect to on-premise systems to get access to even more information that reside inside of your own premises. And then configuring a source is relatively simple. You just have to pick one of those connector, provide a name for your source, give the start URL. In this case, it's a website, but let's say you go against SharePoint, it would be similar. You provide a starting URL that we're going to talk to get to the APIs, and then if it's authenticated, you have to also provide credentials for Coveo to be able to connect to that system to index all the information. Once you've indexed information, there's another quick tool which is interesting. It's the content browser. So the content browser is available for you to understand what you've just indexed. So I have content coming from various sources. If I want to see what's in my index, I have the option to use that fully functional search interface. If I search for Speedbit, I'm going to be able to find content related to Speedbit. Just give me a second. If you want to understand how data is structured, if you want to understand how data is secured, that's also where you go to see all those properties of those documents. So I'm currently viewing one specific document. Here are all the information that you have at hand to use as facets, or to use to build result template, or to use to do sorting, or to influence the ranking of those documents. Here are all the permissions that we've indexed for those documents. So if you ever have people who are anxious about security with Coveo, you can always review what permissions have been indexed for every document to make sure that everything is working correctly. If you want to see what the HTML version we've indexed, we've generated of that document, that's also possible. That's a HTML version of a PDF, so that the content of this PDF is also searchable. It's not only the meta information, but the content of the PDF is searchable. That also applies to Word, Excel, and many type of document. And you also have access to the JSON of that document too, and that is going to be returned as a search result. So you understand basically what you have in the index to be able to work with information. The other thing I wanted to show you is actually query pipelines. Query pipelines are basically a kind of a transformation mechanism to apply machine learning, to apply relevancy, to apply transformation to query before they go to the index. Basically, this is where you apply your own logic to make the index more relevant to your own scenario. Obviously, you want to have different pipelines for, let's say you're building a website search on an index, but there's also a customer service search, there's also support agent search, and there's multiple search interface targeting the same data. You want to be able to optimize the relevance for a different scenario. So you can build multiple pipeline and associate those pipeline with different user interfaces. And the pipeline is mainly built of so machine learning algorithms. There's a model for tuning relevance and query suggestion. And if you want to add more models, it's fairly simple. Those models are actually created, fairly simple to create as well. You simply have to define at which frequency you want to rebuild them and how long of data you want to look at to build those models. You also have the choice to select the impact on relevancy. So do you want to give more impact to machine learning, or do you want to keep it softer? So it's up to you to decide how this model should behave. Thesaurus, so synonyms. If you have synonyms that you want to implement, let's say for acronyms or stuff like that, you have the option to create them here. Featured results. If you know the exact result, that should be always at the top position for a specific keyword. You have the option to add them in here. Stop word, if you want to do natural language processing and you want to add your own stop words in there, also possible. Ranking expression are a way to influence the ranking based on static rules. So here what I'm doing is that for every content that is comes from the lithium. Actually, every lithium message, they should be boosted negatively to the bottom of the list. But you could also do another rule that would make sense in that scenario. So for every lithium message that is actually a solution to a thread, give them a boost of 1,000 points, something like that. So every solution will be boosted, but every message of a thread will be buried in the list of results. And there's many other options to build this pipeline, but those are the main ones. And then what you can do with pipeline is you can A/B test them. So as you're building more and more configuration in a pipeline, as you're adding machine learning, as you basically play with those pipeline, you can decide to do A/B test to see which pipeline is performing the best, and then you'll be able to review in the analytics report the performance of those different pipelines to see which one was performing better compared to the other. Let me go back to the slides from here. What's next? So as I mentioned before, this solution has been available for a couple of almost a year now directly on AppSource, but we're going to do an official announcement on March 31st. March 1st. That's there on that slide. It's actually March 1st. So expect a press release and a GA announcement for us. We're going to make some more noise around this solution. If you want to start a free trial, if you want to try the solution, you can go to the AppSource, download it and install it into your own Dynamics instance. It's full feature, so everything you've seen in this demo today is available for you within this trial, and it's 30 days, so you'll be able to try the entire solution for 30 days. If you want to build a demo environment, if you want to keep this trial running, maybe as a partner or as Microsoft people, you'd like to have something running for a year long to be able to do demos or to present this to prospect, simply contact us. We'll be able to extend those trial or keep them awake for a longer period. We're also working on a few more documents in PDF and leave behind. So we have a battle card to help you quickly position the solution. We also have product sheet. We're working on a website. Today's website is fairly thin regarding Dynamics information, but we're adding more and more information in line with the March 1st release. And we're also building case studies. So we have case study around Coveo at large, but we're building a few case studies around Coveo Dynamics if you want to use them to talk with your prospects or customers. And lastly, I think it's important to repeat. So I'm Nick Bordeleau. I'm in the product management team. If you want to discuss products, feel free to send me an email. If you want also to talk more marketing, or if you want to talk more go-to-market strategies, you can also connect with Shireen. She's in the product marketing team. Her email is right here. And if you want to talk more about alliances and partnership, Marie-Michelle Caron is also on the team, and she's not dedicated, but she's involved in the Microsoft ecosystem as well. So that's what I had, and I told you that I was to look at questions during the presentation, but honestly, I haven't looked. So, Clara, can you read me the question?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Nicolas, for this great presentation. So it is still time to type your questions in the questions section of the control panel. So please do so if you have any questions. I'll start with a few questions we already have. So the first question would be, what is the difference between Azure Search, Dynamics Relevance Search, and Coveo Search?
Okay. So Azure Search and Relevant Search are basically the same. Relevant Search is basically Azure Search, but exposed through Dynamics. Azure Search is obviously a progression on the Dynamics side. It's better than what they had before than categorized search, but still it's only looking at Dynamics content. So if you have knowledge base or if you have information in another system, you won't be able to find it through Azure Search or through Relevant Search. So that's a big difference with Coveo compared to Relevant Search, and it's also not customizable at all in terms of UI, but also in terms of relevancy mechanism. If you have your own logic inside of your data, if you want to be able to implement it, it won't be possible with Relevant Search from Azure.
Thank you. We do have another question. Are there any customers using this right now?
Yes, so as I said, there's Tyler, who has been using the product since the beginning. We're in a cycle of sending it to a few other prospects, but currently there's only Tyler who's currently in production with the system.
Great. Another question. What about on-premise sources? Can you also connect and index those?
Yes, so we have a non-premise crawling module, which is basically something you deploy on premises. It's also possible to crawl on-premises source from the cloud, but typically to simplify firewall discussion and also data residency, it's always easier to deploy our on-premise crawling module directly on premises. And that crawling module is the one responsible of talking with your system on-premise and then pushes document to our cloud platform. So he's kind of the middleman to that acts internally internal of your firewall to get the content and push it out to Coveo. Yes, it's possible to get content from on-premise.
Thank you. Next question. Is this only for the customer service module, or can Coveo search be used across Dynamics? What about outside of Dynamics like SharePoint?
So yes, it can go beyond customer service. If you have a specific use case in mind, Coveo can be integrated in any form entity. You just have to add a web resource. So Coveo search page is actually a web resource within Dynamics. You just have to integrate it within the interface of your entity. Sorry, and then you can customize like I showed you. If you'd like to use Coveo within SharePoint, then you can simply build an interface like I showed you within Dynamics or within the Coveo Cloud Platform. Get out the HTML version of that page and integrate that into SharePoint. Then you'll be able to access all your content, in this case, from within SharePoint.
Thank you. Next question. What version of Dynamics does Coveo integrate with?
So we're able to integrate at the UI level, like everything I showed you today is available within Dynamics 9 and up. So the search box integration required Dynamics 9 and up. If you have an older version of Dynamics, so Dynamics 8.1 and up, you're also able to integrate the crawler and some parts of the UI. But the full stack that you've seen today is easier to integrate with Dynamics 9.
Perfect. And can I get a trial copy to download and try out?
Yeah, so as soon as you get as soon as you install our solution, either from AppSource or from our developer portal, the first thing that you're asked when you go and see the Coveo configuration is to connect to a Coveo Cloud organization. If you don't have any license, if you're requesting for a trial, I guess you don't have any license, you'll have the option to create a new trial from here, and fairly simple. You just have to provide a credential to our cloud platform, which you can create. Actually, just like any system, you can create new credentials, and then you'll be able to start a trial from here.
Thank you. We do have a few questions left. Just a quick reminder, you can still type your questions in the panel. We still have a few minutes to answer your questions. So next question is, can I schedule a more detailed demo, and if there is more specific functionality that I'd like to explore?
Yes, absolutely. Just contact us. We'll be more than happy to jump on a call to show you more functionalities.
Thank you. Typically, how long does it take for Coveo to index the content? How does it synchronize for content updates and changes?
So the Coveo crawlers are pretty fast. There's two modes to index content. We either look at changes and as soon as something changes, we push it to Coveo. And the other mode is that we poll for content changes. In both cases, you decide the frequency at which we look at for content changes. By default, it's configured to look for changes every 5 minutes. If it's too aggressive on your system, you can make it less. You can change the frequency of the refresh, but it's pretty fast to get content in the index. Was there a second part to the question? Have I missed one part of the question, or?
The second part was, how does it synchronize for content updates and changes?
So it basically just listens to any changes and push them automatically as they happen. You don't have to go to the cloud platform every week, let's say, to do a full rebuild. Every content changes are automatically pushed into Coveo.
Perfect, thank you. Does Coveo have any limitations in terms of the number of entities or fields that can be indexed?
Number of entities. So that's no. Actually, no. There's no limit in number of entities. In terms of fields, there's a soft limit in Coveo license. So you're allowed to create up to 5,000 fields, which is way more than what you can do with Azure Search. And if you ever need more fields, you can always contact us to augment that license. But yes, there's a license, but 5,000 fields is actually a lot of fields. We never go close to that limit in typical deployment.
Thank you. Last question. In terms of security, what do you offer? What if someone has different access privileges in different systems?
Yeah, so when we index document, we also index permissions on those documents. So for Dynamics records, we're going to index all the meta, also all the binary that we find in this document, all the notes and everything. But we also attach the permissions to those documents. And as you query, you pass along your current search token, which is basically a mechanism to pass along your identity. And then the Coveo index is able to resolve which document you have access to based on what identity you provided at query time. If you're mixing information coming from multiple systems, so let's say you have content coming from Dynamics, but you also have content coming from Atlassian or from Google, which both have their own authentication system, we're going to do what we call resolve to email. So if the current identity you have as an email, which is the same within another provider of identity, you're going to be able to find the content that match both email at the same time without having to provide more identities. So that makes it pretty easy to mix content from various sources and to make sure that security is applied.
Thank you. So I don't see any more questions in the queue, so I think now is a great time to wrap up. If you have any other questions, do not hesitate to contact us through the contacts that Nicolas gave you during the presentation. Just a couple of quick reminders before we sign off. We'll send the recording to all attendees within the next 24 hours. And please remember to help us improve future webinars by completing the brief survey at the end of the session. On behalf of Nicolas and the rest of the team, I'd like to thank you for attending our webinar. Thank you.